Welcome to another exciting podcast. This is number 4, and tonight's topic will be on military use at home.
Good evening, good evening, good evening. How's it going?
It's going good. We're doing our remote this time at a different location, but only two floors up.
We're doing it. We're doing it at my place this time. You had said that you wanted to do more stairs.
I do. I need to do more stairs. I probably need a stairmaster is what I need.
Well, good evening, y'all. This is Lotus, and with me, as always, is
Quit Carl.
It's currently April 10th at 7:05 our time. Jupiter's being very vocal this evening.
He's just agreeing with you.
Yeah, she is. She is very much agreeing.
That's
with
what
me.
she does.
Yes, absolutely. Well, she is my puppy. Tonight's topic is about the military and the use of the military at home. I think we're going to go into other topics that have to do with the military.
Sure.
But I want to get to a couple of. I haven't actually come up with a title for the segment yet. So I mean, I don't know if we want to do mailbag or mail, like fan mail. I don't know what you want to.
Yeah.
What do you want to call it?
Yeah. Either one is fine.
Fan mail.
Fan mail is good.
Fan mail. We'll go. How about?
Do we have fans?
I think we have fans. I last time I counted, I think we're up to 3 fans.
Jumping Palomino, get out of town.
Yeah. I mean, for 4 episodes, had 3 fans. That's pretty good. Anyway, this is a response from listener Tyler, who seems to be
Him again.
He seems to be a big fan of the episodes. So, listener Tyler says, "Dear esteemed Socratic neighbors of the far distant nation of Texas, I have received your humble offering to visit your studios, and I dutifully and eagerly accept. My aerial bus ticket has been confirmed, and I now await my impending northern exploration." Then he follows up with something in Spanish that says, "Hablamos pronto, mis vecinos socráticos."
Yep, that's what I would say.
Sincerely, listener Tyler. And for those that don't know Spanish, just look it up, like we always say.
Yeah, because we'd have to.
Yeah, we had to. A couple of things I wanted to get to. Something interesting that because we had our technology episode a couple weeks ago. Something interesting is that Zuckerberg testified today.
Yes.
To the on the Hill and on Capitol Hill, and I thought that was really interesting. His testimony was really interesting, and he was talking about the good uses and bad uses of technology, Zuckerberg and everybody that was questioning him. So I found that really interesting. Not that that's relevant to the topic to today,
but I have my own feelings about Zuckerberg in general.
Right.
But he's got a PR nightmare on his hands.
He really does.
And he's got to step it up because in general he's not well liked.
Right. Right now, certainly right now, he's not well liked. And I don't think he was well liked even when he certainly started inventing Facebook. I mean, I mean, I don't have any. I have. Congrats to him for coming up with an idea that people wanted to use.
Right.
But
sure.
I also think he needs to be aware of what he created. And I just don't think he is.
And I'm not real thrilled about the way he got there either. He stepped on a lot of people that
he did.
That really he's not alone in that though too with technology. There have been other situations like at Microsoft and Apple where the founders basically tried to screw over people because that they figured they could do that. And sometimes you have to have that kind of personality, I guess, to get your vision done. So we may as a regular person, that's not a trait that I would want to have. But those people are on a different plane.
Right. Right. And also, before we continue, if anybody ever hears a light chuckle, a rather effeminate chuckle, it's not either Quit Carl or myself. It is Mrs. Lotus. We do have her in the studio with us. She is listening, so that she doesn't have to listen to the podcast later, as far as my understanding goes.
And just that you said that it's good that you know that our listeners know that we're not dubbing a laugh track in.
No, that's true. Yeah, the last thing I would want to do is pull a Green Acres and have a laugh track. We have a couple of guests lined up, which listener Tyler in May. And then we'll probably have Mama Lotus in either next week or the week after.
And do we know what topic that's going to be?
She has not confirmed with me what topic she wants to do, but hopefully Mama Lotus will come up with something good.
It may be helpful household tips.
Could be very much helpful household tips which neither of us know about. So
that's right.
It may be a light conversation on our part, but it may be a heavy conversation.
Yeah, it might be real deep.
But I look forward to interviewing Mama Lotus, actually having her sit down and have a deep discussion with us on a topic. It'll be interesting because I invited her on this week's topic, but she wasn't. She didn't have the time, so she's a very busy woman. But
I'm glad she's making time for us.
Yeah, I'm glad she is. It'll be really fun to have her on the show, I think, and I think it'll be fun to have listener Tyler on the show as well, who I hear is very well traveled.
Very well traveled,
and he's also somehow. I think there's a bit of nepotism as far as our guests go.
Yeah, but
that's okay.
Well, one thing is they're free.
That's true. We don't have to pay them
for guests. So,
no, we're not paying for guests yet.
So we better go to that pool and draw from it often.
Right. Right. But hopefully one day Mrs. Lotus will chime in on the show as well. But we have to wait for her interest to peak or come up with a topic that she wants to talk about. But anyway, so this is your topic. So take it away, Mr. Quick Carl.
Well, I think it's relevant, and especially with our president saying that he wanted to put troops down at the border. Now, with that said, he put that out there, but the governors of these states are pretty much stepping it up. Our own governor yesterday has committed to 1,000 National Guard troops to go down to the border over a several-week period. New Mexico has, I believe, committed to 250 troops, and Arizona has agreed to, I think, about close to 300 maybe troops. They've all committed though, except one governor, and we all know who that is.
Mention his name.
Governor Moonbeam is what we'll call him today.
Right.
he has
reaches of the far west.
Right, yeah. He hasn't said no, but he's thinking about it, right. and I'm just going to go with that. I'm not going to judge him on basis that he might actually do it. But here's the situation: if he doesn't, that's a case where the president's going to order troops to go down there anyway.
Right.
He's doing the right thing, having the governors take care of this, and they are, except California. We can mention the state, but they too they do it. I don't want to judge them, but I guess my thing is with the topic, is the military justified to be put in force in our own country?
I think so. I mean because the posts I see of yours on Facebook, you seem more libertarian on the issue.
Yeah.
I mean,
I'm a moderate.
I mean, you're a moderate in general, but like as far as military use at home, I mean, for me, military is number one. The number one job of the government is to protect its people. That's the agreement.
Definitely.
That's the agreement that we set upon with the Constitution. We pay taxes, we do our civic duty, and in exchange, the government protects our rights. And they
have to take an oath when they do that.
And they take an oath.
Even senators and congressmen have to take that oath.
And the senators, congressmen, policemen, police chiefs,
right?
First responders, they have to take some sort of oath to serve the public. I mean, you've got, and the military part of the end of the training is committing to serving the Constitution of the United States. So, I mean, there are enemies. There are enemies around us, whether we like it or not.
That's true.
And so that's when you're looking at evil, you're looking at evil on every aspect, and it's not just evil over in the Middle East or over in Europe or over in Russia. There is evil on our border. And I'm not calling people that want to come into this country evil. I just think that I think part of the use of the military at home with this particular issue is to do with the immigration issue that's not being solved. And I don't think that, and immigration can be either used for another topic, but I think it's very relevant to the topic you've chosen, is that immigration is that there's a good way to do it and there's a bad way to do it. And
right.
I don't think it's a bad thing for the military to protect our border so that we control the immigration that's coming into the country.
No, and I agree. And we need that protection on all our borders.
Right.
Not just there. We need it on our coastlines. We need it. And I'm not really that threatened by Canada, so we don't.
I'm not that threatened by Canada.
Yeah, so I'm not too worried about us not having a major border presence at Canada. That's a 3,000-mile stretch that would take a lot of resources.
Well, it would take a lot of resources and a lot of people that can endure some cold weather, and I just don't think Americans are built for it.
I don't see a mass illegal immigration coming in from the north.
No, I don't see it either.
Though they might want to come down and get warmer. I could see that happening.
Yeah, I could see that happening too.
But there's other things. I agree with you totally that we have to have some type of military presence, and if states don't respond to that, then I think it's up to the commander-in-chief, which is the president, to just do it.
Of course,
they're going to order he'll order the National Guard, because technically the governors are responsible for the National Guard to deploy those troops.
Right.
But the president has the final say, and if they're not being deployed, he'll order the National Guard to go down there, or he'll send in regular troops.
Sure, and I also think that there's state militias that will willingly take the place of the National Guard as well if the president's not willing to do it. I don't think we've gotten to that point where state militias want to start protecting the border, because that's honestly not their job. But at the same time, I think not that Mexico is definitely not threatening us with war, but there is a certain amount of the drug problem is becoming more and more
prevalent. The drug problem
is
bad, and also we're not necessarily getting the best quality people trying to cross over. I mean, also every time somebody comes in illegally, it uses our resources.
Yeah, of course it does.
Yeah, and so those are resources that could be going toward our actual citizens instead.
Uh-huh.
And then also another example that I can think of, and I think I might have the year wrong, but I think it was in 1957. Eisenhower ordered troops to go down to Arkansas, the Little Rock, because of the Brown versus the Board of Education. The governor of Arkansas at the time didn't want to allow a black student to go to school there. They were all for segregation. And Eisenhower had to order troops down there because the governor wouldn't call out the National Guard to protect the student to go to the school.
Wasn't that, I thought that was 60, was that 59? I thought that was 61. I could have sworn.
Eisenhower was president when it happened.
Eisenhower was president?
Yeah.
So 50, you said 57?
It was 1957.
57?
Yeah. But, I mean, there's a case right there where we had to use military force in this country, and it's not even, this is a whole different topic, but are you okay with that?
But is that, I don't know if that's military force. I think that's just military support.
Well, it was a presence.
That's true, a presence. Okay, so
but you know what? It's still a force because they had to stop, like the police and all those had to back off. The military had to make sure that they could go in. So I'm not saying they used force, but it was there. If they had to use it, they were going to use it.
Yeah, because Forrest Gump touches on that. You know, like I mean, all the things that the fictionalized book and that movie really kind of go through is really interesting. I think, but I mean, this isn't the only time that the military's been ordered to go to the border. I mean, Bush did it. Clinton did it.
No, yeah, right.
You know, I mean, it's...
And then we have two presidents before this one, Clinton and Obama, that said they wanted to enforce the border. and send troops down there. And then our current president's getting bashed for the same thing they both said.
Right. I agree that in terms of criticism that there is a bit of a double standard. I wouldn't say a bit. Yeah. There is a double standard.
We could that could be another topic.
Criticism or
that
double
too.
standard.
The double standard.
Double standards, yeah. Hypocriticism.
Yeah. And if we do the media, that'll probably be a 3-hour segment.
That's. If we do the media, we'll have to get like Ben Shapiro on the show or something.
Yeah.
Or Steven Crowder.
Yeah,
we'll see if we can get Crowder on the show.
Sure.
Talk about the media.
But no, I'm not even using the border for example. This is another case where the military had to come in and make sure that this student could go to school and desegregate the school because the governor had no interest in doing that. And so this student was barred from going to school. So Eisenhower ordered the troops down there because the governor didn't want to do it. He didn't want to order the National Guard to take care of it.
No, he didn't. And I think that there's a defining line with how progress is and how we need to progress as a nation, that sometimes military action is necessary, even at home. And for in this case, in the 50s and the 60s, the case was segregation, and in today's age, it's immigration.
Right. Right.
And I think there is a certain use of military at home. I mean, the military wasn't used for wasn't it that cult not too long ago? Wasn't the military used for that?
Oh, down in Waco?
Was that the
Branch
Waco?
Davidian?
Yeah, something like that.
Well, the FBI came in, but
it was FBI, yeah.
But it's still the government.
I mean, it's the government.
Yeah.
But I also think it's interesting how particularly in today's age, how sparingly the military is actually used at home.
Well,
because when military is used, you hear about it.
Right, you do hear about it. But the thing is, the military is so spread out around the world,
right,
that I can't see us bringing those troops back because of an uprising here in the United States. I don't think we should be the police department for the whole world either.
I don't think we should be the police department, but I don't think we should be the police force of the world. But at the same time, there's a lot of bad stuff going on in the world.
I agree that we probably need a presence in a lot of places. Otherwise, we'd be in trouble if we didn't have a presence there.
The prime, most recent example is the Syria chemical attack.
Especially
the day before yesterday.
Yep. And of course, they're going to deny it. I've seen their president on Charlie Rose denying that he ever used chemical weapons.
Yeah, I mean, it's just. And I agree with the Daily Wire and Fox News about it being. That Obama's partially to blame for that, for the situation.
He just drew the line in the sand, and
he doesn't enforce it.
He's never enforced anything. It's like, stop that, don't do it anymore.
Yeah,
that's pretty much his rhetoric, and that's it.
It's a slap on the hand, and then
not even that.
Yeah,
but but I'm just saying, our military has a value, even here in this country. But what I don't particularly like is, what about in situations where the use of military is like. Let's use Hurricane Katrina, for example.
Yeah.
The military went in there and made people leave their homes, even if they didn't want to. They forced them out of there. And then they put them in, I don't want to use the term internment camps, but they put them in refugee camps and told them, you can't leave this camp unless you pass an evaluation that says, okay, you're fit to leave now, you can go. But basically, what they're basically saying is, you can't leave and you have to come with us. There's no discussion.
Yeah, I don't know how many cases of that there were in Katrina. I know that for Harvey, and I know that for the one before Harvey, it was Rita. Rita was the biggest one before Harvey, I believe. And I know that for those, the military was not used.
Oh yeah.
And I know that for Rita, they evacuated the whole.
They tried to evacuate people, but not to.
But you weren't here for Rita.
No.
So Rita. So there's a huge difference between how Rita went and how Harvey went. Harvey, there was significantly less loss of life.
I was in Hermione in New Jersey.
Hermione, yeah. But in Rita, there was a lot more loss of life, even though it was not as bad of a hurricane as Harvey was.
Right.
Harvey was a very bad hurricane, and Harvey picked up water and dumped it all over Houston and the surrounding areas. Rita, it was a Category 4 when it hit landfall, and as soon as it hit landfall, it dropped down to a Category 2, which I don't know if you know the scales, but that's from like 100. I'm not 100% factually accurate on this, but it's from like 100 miles an hour down to 60 miles an hour. There's a huge difference in winds. And so a Category 2 is much less threatening, and it just drops water. So the city got flooded because of Rita, but at the same time, there was a lot more loss of life because the mayor at the time decided to evacuate the whole city. And so people were caught in their cars
when the water came in.
When the water came in.
Yeah.
And so there was a lot more death that happened during Rita. Now for Harvey, a lot of people were told, unless you're in a prime flood area, do not leave your homes.
Right.
And so I don't know because New Orleans is underwater. The city level sits under the sea level.
Right.
And so for New Orleans, I mean, it's hard to say.
But do you think? Okay, but getting back to the military use,
right?
In that situation, do you think it's right to?
Well, I mean, it's in the Constitution. You can't force somebody to leave their home.
Right.
You know what I mean? And they did, and I think that's wrong. I think it's wrong. But I don't fault the military. I don't fault the guys that were trying to do that. I think the guys that were trying to do that, they recognized they had good intentions, and they were following orders.
To do that, someone in the military doesn't have to follow an unlawful order. They can, if it's an unlawful order, they don't have to follow it. But there's a gray area when you say, well, you got to go and get these people out of their homes, and there's no question about it. And it's like, well, that could be considered an unlawful order to make them come out against their will, but at the same time, you're trying to do a humanitarian thing.
Yeah. I think.
And getting back to the camps, let's go back in history a little bit. During World War II, the government rounded up the Japanese Americans who were Americans.
Yeah.
And many of them were born in this country, and they were U.S. citizens, and made them go to internment camps.
Yes. Yeah, I don't think it's right that an American be subject to that. I don't think it's right for a naturalized citizen to be subject to that.
No.
I don't even think it's right for a legal immigrant, somebody who has their green card or work visa, to be subject to that. I don't think, granted, somebody that's a legal immigrant or has a work visa is not an actual citizen of the United States, so they're subject to a different. Right. But I would hope that they be held to the same standard that everybody else is.
I'm not faulting the government for what they did necessarily. I think looking back on it, it was wrong to do that.
Right.
But at the same time, they were in a panic because Pearl Harbor just got bombed.
Right.
And they were trying to round up anybody that looked Japanese.
I don't think anybody was. Well, I mean, there was intelligence.
Nobody was going to fault the government for it happening.
Yeah.
The problem is, you go back and you look at this stuff and you analyze it years later. It's during that time it seemed probably the right thing to do, but then years later it's like, how could you do that to somebody?
Yeah, I don't fault the government for trying to do what was unanticipated, because there was some intelligence that Pearl Harbor was going to happen, but nobody. Well, but only a couple of people knew for sure, and the couple of people that knew, they weren't absolutely vocal about it. And I know that the movie Pearl Harbor tries to portray that Roosevelt was like, oh, well, why are we building bridges when our enemies are building bombs?
Right.
But he didn't have that attitude. I know he didn't have that attitude because he was worried about getting us out of the Great Depression. He was too busy trying to...
Well, and honestly, and there'll be people out there that'll disagree with me, but Eisenhower knew about it before it happened. It was his excuse to get us into the war.
Yeah,
because Europe had been I won't say bothering. They've been requesting and even coming over and begging the U.S. to help them in Europe.
Oh yeah, as early as 1939.
Yeah,
from what I understand.
Well, yeah, not too long after that.
Because when did World War II officially started in 1939? Didn't it?
Queen came over. They met with FDR. And they wanted it. They needed their help.
Yeah,
and there were a lot of Americans that volunteered over there before we actually got into the war.
Yeah.
And a lot of pilots came from the United States before and became RAF fighters.
Did you see the Gary Oldman movie Darkest Hour? Have you seen that yet?
No, I haven't.
Oh, it's great.
Is it?
It's great. He plays Churchill so well. But there's a scene in there where Churchill is talking to FDR, and I didn't know this, but I guess that the Great Britain had ordered planes to be used on behalf from the United States to be used on behalf of Great Britain because they were struggling they were struggling with the air combat war.
Right.
And they knew that they had the sea war because the Navy could easily fit in the English Channel and just block everything. But they couldn't defend as well again with air combat, dogfighting and bombing and such. And so they in the movie it was very well portrayed of we're desperate for help, and I know that people in government do usually try and have the best intentions of, but I just wish that we had stepped in sooner. It would have been interesting to find out.
Right.
It would have been interesting to see what history would have been like if we had stepped in.
We didn't step into World War I till later too.
No,
but it'd be a lot of
true.
things happened, like the Lusitania getting sunk. Probably clinched it right there. But that was like one more year left in the war. Really, we got in. Yeah. We got in the later part of the war.
Yeah. Well, and I know that.
But again, that's all stuff that happened.
That's also overseas. Yeah. We're getting into overseas stuff. Overseas conflict. But I just with the military being used at home, I think there are definitely limitations to where the military needs to be used, and I think in very extreme circumstances, this is a really extreme circumstance. But have you ever seen Cloverfield? Have you seen the movie Cloverfield?
No, I haven't.
Where the giant monster attacks? That's definitely a good use of military.
That was the movie with the video camera?
Yeah. I mean, that's definitely a good use of the military. That's a very extreme, like, can't happen in a million years type
look
circumstance.
At the movie Independence Day.
Yeah, Independence Day. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, if we get attacked by aliens, I want our troops to be busy defending us.
True, but that movie also makes a good point of it. It wasn't just the military.
You think it's okay for the military at home to come to you and say, James, I'm like deputizing you. You're going to be a soldier this week because we need your help in a fight.
Well, that's what the draft is.
Right, but they don't have time to draft you. They'll just come in and.
I mean,
it's like the Patsy. I think it's Kamadasak of with Ruther B. Hayes. It was like back in the late 1800s, like I don't know, 1870. It was a law that was put in so that, like in the Old West, where if a guy robbed a bank, the sheriff could deputize all these average citizens.
Oh yeah, an arm of the law.
Yeah, and then go chase. Do you think the military has the right to come in and say, okay?
So
Lotus,
I'd basically be like, here you go, Captain Lotus, go fight a battle type thing. I mean, I don't see how that's any different than a draft, honestly.
No, a draft yeah, I understand the draft. Okay, getting to the draft, and then again, that's really not the subject, but it is some validity. What do you think about women being drafted?
I don't think women should be serving. I think I'm okay with women serving in the military, but I definitely don't think they should be on the front lines or overseas handling conflicts, particularly in areas where because we have troops in Germany, but there's no real conflict in Germany. Part of the reason we're in Germany is because we're still dealing with the Treaty of Paris from as a result of World War II. Or is that Treaty of what is that? The Treaty of Berlin, or is it Treaty of Versailles? Or I forget what it is. I forget what treaty it is. But part of the reason we're in Germany still is because of the resolution that occurred in World War II. So I'm okay with women being over there and serving, but I'm not okay with women being on the front lines in, say, Middle East or Syria, where women are viewed very differently than they are here. You know what I mean?
Yeah, but if they're fighting for our country, what difference does it make if they're viewed?
But it's a protection thing. It's because women. Because
would you feel uncomfortable if you were serving and a woman was serving with you on the front line?
No, it's not about me. It's okay.
Well, what happens with that person?
Right. Well, no, I understand. Me serving, I don't have a problem serving with another woman.
Why do you think women shouldn't be on a battle?
Because if they get, what happens if they get captured? Women are being treated.
They could be subject to a lot of things, but so can a guy.
Right, but not the same things.
Well, not
the mutilation
same things,
the mutilation of women is far more.
Well, you know what? Nobody's forcing them to sign up. Now, if there's a draft,
right? But if there's a draft, no, I don't think women should be in the draft.
I think in that situation, if a woman passes all the tests, even becoming a Navy SEAL, if they do everything the man can, and I'm not saying set the standard so a woman can pass. They have to pass. Men and women have to pass the exact same thing to be a ranger or whatever they're going to do.
To me,
but if they can pass it, then that person should not. Man or woman should not be held back.
But to me, there's other ways. There's also, to me, I just think that.
Well, if there's a draft, there's obviously a need for people.
There's obviously a need, right?
Right. So they're not going to probably be too discerning. Like, well, we need 5,000 troops up here, and we've drafted 5,000, and 1,100 of them are women. We say no, we're going to wait. But we get 5,000 guys to go up there, and we need to go up there now.
If a draft was initiated now, women aren't registered on the draft now.
No, but I'm saying if it happens,
if I think if third wave feminism is going to hold true, then they need to sign up for the draft. You know what I mean?
Okay.
But I also think that if you're gonna, I also think that the standard should be the same. I agree with you. I think the standard should be the same across the board.
Right.
I think if women are going to serve, women should serve. And I think that but I also think that there's other ways to serve your country than just serving in the military.
Well, sure, but these women want to do it. They want to do the same thing the guys are doing.
Right, but I also think that the standard, and I agree with you. I don't think at all the standard should be place,
we have to accept what happens.
Right,
because we don't make that law. But
I think.
What about women serving in the military again, being in our country, like guarding the border with military in our country? Are you okay with women being on the border?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, I'm okay with women guarding the border.
As long as it's not a battle conflict.
I mean, I don't think it could be a battle conflict. Yeah,
they could have. We could have a drug lords coming in from Mexico, and these women are on the front line protecting our border.
Well, I mean, there's women cops, there's women FBI agents.
Sure
I mean, I don't think
they don't discriminate that this woman can't do this job when they make them an agent or a police officer.
No, I don't think it's not about ability. To me, it's not about ability. I think a woman can do, as far as the military concerned, if she's able to pass all the similar tests. I say similar because I'm trying to refine exactly. I'm saying if the same standards are held for both women and women in the military as they are in police work, as they are in FBI training, right. I think that if women want to serve, they can serve. But I also to me, for my instinct as a man to want to protect Mrs. Lotus, protect my wife, my instinct is to not let a woman on the front lines because that's my instinct as a man to want to protect women and children. That's my instinct. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's not about.
No, I understand.
It's not about. And if Mrs. Lotus was to serve on the military and we were to serve side by side, I would be much more distraught than if my brother.
Well, they probably wouldn't put you together.
No, they wouldn't put us together. But I'm just saying, I would be much more distraught if something happened to her versus if my brother and I served side by side. You know.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
My thing is, man or woman, I'm going to be trying to protect that person too. I'm not going to discriminate because it's a woman or a man.
I'm not saying I would.
Because that's my brother or sister in arms.
Yeah.
And I want to have their back, and I want them to have my back.
Yeah, I agree with you. I fully agree with you there.
Yeah. So, let's get into something else as far as military being used in this country.
Yeah. Something a little bit less theoretical and some more actual, I guess.
Yeah. The Civil War.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So the South wanted to secede from the Union.
Uh-huh.
Okay. And they captured Fort Sumter. Okay. So that kind of started the war. Do you think, and that put brother and sister against each other.
Brother
the South
against brother,
yeah, against the North. To give you an example, Mary Todd Lincoln, Abraham Lincoln's wife, both her brothers fought for the Confederacy.
Yeah, I know that.
And so you think it was right for them seceding? Do you think it was right for the president to say, hey, if you guys want to secede, go for it. But instead, he said, no, you have to stay in the Union. You think it was the right thing for him to do that?
Yeah.
Why do you think the South needed to stay in the Union?
I
know.
One thing,
obviously, it abolished slavery.
Right.
That was the wrong thing.
Right.
I totally agree with that. That was an inhumane thing.
Here's the thing: part of the problem was that not only did the South secede, the South seceded and then turned around and started attacking Union forts.
Right.
And so that's a threat to the United. That's the threat to the Union. That's the threat to the United States.
Are you saying like that was the Union's Pearl Harbor?
Essentially, yeah. I mean, not that was the cause of the Civil War, but that was certainly
like the first shot fired.
It's a shot fired, exactly. Right. So the thing is if you like with Captain Phillips, the military went to a great deal to protect Captain Phillips with his story
when the
Somali pirates. So to me, it's if an American citizen, or even another instance, a bigger instance, 9/11, we went over and kicked some ass. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
And eventually we found the guy, and we shot him down. We took him down.
Yeah.
I mean, the U.S. is not. The U.S. is a force to be reckoned with, and I mean, even with Japan. Japan was like, we just woke a sleeping giant.
Right.
That's a direct quote from the general.
It's a big mistake for them.
They knew it. They knew it as soon as they started striking Pearl Harbor. They knew it was a mistake. And the thing is like.
But you got to follow what the emperor says, because those are people that, as far as traditions and family values and everything, they will fight to the death because that's in their culture.
Right. And something I think because we talked about this last time, was it last episode that we talked about is that if they were to suddenly invade, then they'd have the rest of America that's ticked off. It's not just when you attack America, it's not just the military you're attacking. It's Americans have pride in their nation.
Well, even people that can't serve, like let's say you get drafted and you physically are, I don't know what you call it, like 4F or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And you can't serve. If you see, a lot of those people are still serving their country, and a lot of them are like civil defense, or they're doing something that at home that's like the military has kind of said, well, you can't fight here, but you can stay home and carry a gun and protect the people here. Because we're all fighting and we don't have the military resources to cover everything.
But you're a perfect example. You wouldn't be able to be eligible to serve in the military, right?
No.
I would, but you wouldn't.
Yeah, up until I think 35.
35. So I mean, I haven't hit that mark yet. So I'm still eligible to serve. If I lose some weight, I'd be eligible to serve in the military.
The bottom line is, if we're getting attacked, I'm going to be fighting too.
And that's my point. Is that you would join a local militia.
I'm not going to. Yeah, I wouldn't. I want the military involved in this country especially if we're getting attacked. But I'm not going to wait for them to get to my neighborhood.
Right.
I'm gonna grab my gun and I'm gonna start firing.
And that's why the Second Amendment exists, is so that you can own it. You own a gun. You can join a militia. You don't have to join the military. You can join a militia, and you can fight for your country when there are foreign invaders or even domestic invaders. And so I mean there was military force used for those farms up in North Dakota or something like that. And they were trying to seize the farms for eminent domain, and the farm owners got a bunch of people together and they protected the land. They stood there with firearms and they said, "No, we're not moving." And the military had to back off, because otherwise you're using the military against your own citizens.
Well, yeah, you are, but
And I don't think instances. I don't like eminent domain. I don't think.
Yeah, you what you said is right, but that's a moral thing. The government can still use their military against citizens.
Right. Of course it can. But
that would be wrong to do that. It's just like getting back to Lincoln. He wasn't very popular during the Civil War.
No,
he had
was
low
not.
approval ratings.
Yeah,
but history, again, if you look at history, And I agree with you at the farm thing, but again, if the president orders it, it's a done deal.
Yeah, but there has to be, and that's why the Constitution exists. There has to be limitations to what the government is able to do within our country, as far as housing military in people's homes, even during peace times.
There are things in place, but the president also has powers to override some of these things.
Not the Constitution.
No, but I mean, there's situations like if we're threatened or he feels like we need to.
But I mean, there might be
you're right.
There might
stopping that.
Right, there might be a domestic terrorist threat in a city.
Okay, here's an example. Speaking of cities, he has threatened, and I'm sure he's still going to do it on more than one occasion to send troops into Chicago because the gang violence is so out of control.
Right,
and Mayor Rahm Emanuel has not done anything really to curb it. So he has told him, he's called him out on the carpet and said, if you're not going to take care of this, I'm going to send in the military to do it.
There's an average of 6 murders a weekend or something like that. It's like
but that's probably ridiculous. A low number.
I mean, yeah, that's.
I mean, it's nuts. It's nuts how many people are getting knocked off in that city. And I personally would be all for the military stepping it up in Chicago.
I think if the mayor is not willing to step up a police force in the areas where crime and violence are most prominent, then I definitely think that for the safety of everybody, I think that more needs to be done. I think the governor needs to step in with the National Guard, and I think that the president is well within his bounds to send the army. I don't have a problem with.
The Army's been in Chicago before, like during the '68 Democratic Convention of the riots. They sent troops in. But the riots down in L.A. with Rodney King, they had to send troops in.
But I don't have a problem with the Army holding up two doors down. If there's no extra rules or laws that have to go into place for the Army to be two doors down from me, but they're just setting up a base there because there might be something.
What if they want to set it up right here in your where you live?
Right
in this space.
In this space? No, they're not allowed to. I wouldn't know. No.
But they're the military. They can just come in.
No, they can't. Not lawfully. I'd hire a lawyer and get them out.
Yeah, well, in the meantime, they've got guns and they're telling you have to leave. Are you going to wait for your lawyer to call?
I'd have my gun and come back and say, no way, Jose. This is my property. It's my house. It's my rules. You can't come in here without a you can't come in here unlawfully.
I'm not arguing with you, but I'm
you
just saying,
what I mean? No, I understand.
Still come in and take you out.
Oh, of course they could.
Forcibly, they could come in and take you and say, we need your place, and you're going to have to
Of course they could, but that doesn't necessarily negate that there'd be...
And you can sue them all you want. Whether you win or not is another story.
But that's like saying I could go down and punch a puppy. I could do it, but that doesn't mean it's right.
Of course not.
You know what I mean?
But yeah, you could do it.
I mean, you could, and they could, but that doesn't make it right, and that doesn't make it lawful.
No, it doesn't. But when it's the military... They don't seem to follow the law to the letter when they have to do whatever they have to do. Sometimes the military
within the borders, I think they do.
Okay, here, let's go. This is at home. They had troops at all the airports.
Well, yeah. So what's wrong with that?
They stayed. They didn't go away.
But what's wrong with that?
I'm not saying anything wrong with it, but
I don't think anything's wrong with that.
You think?
But there's a difference. But there's a difference between a public.
The troops walking around in the airport.
I don't have a problem with troops walking around in the airport.
I don't have a problem with
troops
walking around the airport now. But there are probably people that say, oh, they've carried it too far. Or like the military. All right, here's another example. Like the thing with Homeland Security. Which Homeland Security is kind of like over a lot of this stuff.
Right.
It's not the Defense Department. Because it is Homeland Security and it's our homeland. But the thing with the Patriot Act, okay, what do you think about that? You have to show all this stuff all the time, and they can just wiretap you whenever they want.
Well, the Patriot Act, I didn't care for the Patriot Act. I thought the Patriot Act was a total sham. I didn't think it was. I don't think
it overreached.
No, yeah, definitely. I think it definitely did. I don't see how that. I think that law. But see, a lot of. But it's okay. It's. I'm not saying that Bush is Hitler, but Hitler got the Third Reich instituted at a time when Germany was desperate, right? So Bush got the Patriot Act through at a time when the United States is desperate.
Well,
you know what I'm saying? I'm not saying that there's an equation of evil, and I'm not saying that the Patriot Act had good intentions, but it was still wrong.
But what if they brought the military in to enforce it?
To enforce it?
Yeah, just because you don't agree with it, and you think it's illegal or overreaching.
The NSA.
And it's like, if you're not doing it, the
NSA
is not cooperating, we'll send the military.
The NSA is essentially a bunch of contractors and the military.
Oh yeah, it is.
You know what I mean? So you say the military is used to enforce it. That was the military that was used to enforce it. You know what I mean?
It's all government agencies.
It's government agencies.
Right, like CIA too.
Yeah. So I don't. We're getting into.
Well, a lot of topics. Getting back to Bush, though, I think he overreached.
But he's not okay. I just want to make that clear. I do not think Bush is Hitler. I just want to make that clear.
No, I know.
I just want to make that clear.
You're using it as a comparison of what the times were.
Right. It's the It's the test. I'm saying it's the desperation.
I'll give you one. Congressman Seth Mouton's a friend of my son's from Massachusetts. He's a Democrat and a former Marine Corps captain. Okay. So I saw an interview with him, and he compared Trump to Hitler. Okay?
Oh, that's a bad comparison.
But he wasn't calling Trump Hitler. He was using the same thing. He got people worked up in his message, just like Hitler did, and then they followed him. That's what he was comparing it to. He wasn't calling Trump Hitler.
But I think there's a difference. I think there's a difference between the rally cry of Trump and the rally cry of Hitler. I mean, there's two different.
Right. But would you put Bush in a similar situation, or like with the Roman Empire, where he's trying to take over stuff? Like he goes in. I'm not arguing that we should have went in Afghanistan. That's where the terrorists initiated.
Yeah.
But the thing with Iraq, I think he really misled us on that.
Yeah, with Iraq, it was.
You know what?
Iraq,
They threatened his dad when he was president.
Yeah,
I don't think he ever got over that.
I don't know. I don't know all of the. I know that he goes over some of it in his book. Of the justification of his decisions.
Mass destruction, weapons of mass destruction. I'm not saying they didn't have any, but they weren't like it was a smoking gun.
I don't. Okay, I don't because on the one hand, Saddam Hussein is a bad guy. Same with Obama. Same with not Obama. Same with Osama bin Laden. Same with
Obama was kind of ruled like a dictator.
Oh yeah, Obama did rule like a dictator.
Yeah, he didn't follow the law.
He didn't. No, he wasn't interested in following the law. He wasn't interested.
But he didn't really use military force either.
No,
that would have been a dangerous compensation.
Here's the thing: is that Obama is? I think if Obama lived in Venezuela, he'd be a dictator that doesn't know how to dictate. You know what I mean?
Yeah. The guy down there doesn't know how either.
No, he doesn't either.
But if Obama was a dictator that used the military, that would be a dangerous combination.
Correct.
A very dangerous combination.
Right. But I think that
a responsible president using the military in our country, or even abroad, that's a good combination.
Yeah.
So here's the thing that helped us. Obama ruled like a dictator and didn't use the military, so we can thank our lucky stars at home. But he should have used it more abroad, I think.
Oh yeah, Obama's foreign policy was crap.
It was
total crap.
Totally, but so it was a trade-off. He didn't use it outside the U.S. He didn't use it inside the U.S. So we got spared, but then we got screwed up in the rest of the world.
Right. I think that Trump, as of now, has been using the military for very reasonable things. And I think that protecting the border is definitely a reasonable...
I'm okay with it. I'm on board with that.
I think that the immigration policy, and I agree that...
I'm actually okay with him going into Chicago with the troops.
I'm okay with that, too. I have no qualms with troops being stationed on every corner.
It's okay, and I think in some instances, to have troops at home do what they have to do.
Yeah, but there also has to be limitations.
But then, right, because like the thing with the Hurricane... Katrina. Yeah, a thing like that where the military's coming in and saying you have to leave. FEMA has things in place. I don't know if you know this, but they have evacuation plans. Even they're like way in the future, and if they follow these evacuation plans, like let's say for example, they've put scenarios down that we haven't even seen yet of all things that could happen to this country.
Yeah,
and FEMA's got all these things in place, and some of those things in place are saying, oh, well, we have to round up our citizens and take their guns and put them in these camps. That is on the plate.
Of FEMA. Course it is.
Okay.
Of course.
So are you going to be comfortable with them rounding you up? Which
no,
is also
rather,
the military, because they're going to need the military to do it.
They'd have to
round
have
you
the military.
Up, take your guns and put you in a place because in their minds they're protecting you.
No, in their minds, of course, in their minds they think they're protecting me, but that doesn't negate the idea that only you know what's best for you, and it's like with Hurricane Rita. You know, and the police trying to get everybody to evacuate. There were some people that just wouldn't go, and at some point, I feel for the police officers in the military that have to be the ones to say, look, you need to go. I feel for that. But at the same time, I don't. It's not up to them to decide what's best for.
So they should be arrested and hauled off.
No, I don't think so.
To get them out of there for their own protection.
No, I don't think they should be arrested and hauled off. No, if you want to stay and be a dumbass, you should be allowed to do that.
No argument there.
You know what I mean? Like, if you want to do something like that, then go for it. You know, nobody's there to stop you.
You're right. No,
I don't think anybody should be there to stop you. I think it's like.
The problem is some people, especially elderly people, that's all they know. They know their home and they don't want to leave it.
Right.
And sometimes in that situation, they're not thinking clearly.
Well, and I have a friend that works for the morgue. I have a friend that works for the morgue, and he goes around and collects bodies. He gets paid very well. Oh man, the guy showed me his paychecks. It's huge.
Collect bodies.
Collect bodies.
Really?
When somebody dies, or or something, and he said during Harvey he had a lot of work to do after Harvey, because quite a few people had died. He said the majority of the people that he picked up were older people, and it was because A, they wouldn't leave, and B, nobody was there to help them either.
Right.
You know?
Right.
And so, I mean, I don't.
If they didn't have a strong family support, if they didn't have a strong family, I'm trying to get this candy cane.
Yeah, that was just funny.
Yeah. If they don't have a strong family support, their family might not even be missing them. So they're not calling in the troops and say, "Hey, my grandmother or my grandfather or my dad or mom, they're elderly, and this is where they're at. Can you go get them?" And if they don't have that strong support, they could be overlooked. Just because the military is going door to door, the police are going door to door, they're not. They don't. I can tell you, they don't hit every house because they don't know about every house.
No, often, and it's really hard to.
But if your mom and dad were stranded, you would get on there. Hey, have you guys checked this area? My mom and dad live at this address. Would you go there? Because you have that strong family support.
Yeah,
a lot of these people don't.
Yeah, that's true. It is also. I agree. It's very hard to do 100%. 100% spot check, I guess, of neighborhoods. I think that if for my apartment complex, I think if they were to come and do a scan of my apartment complex, about at least a third of them would get missed. You know, But I also think that the government also needs to make its citizens aware of, hey, if you've left, mark your door.
Right.
You know, that like there needs to be some sort of signal.
You have it on the door and I have it on the windows that we have a pet inside.
Yeah.
We might not be there, but we still want our pet rescued.
Right. And but I think that, I mean, particularly in emergency situations, if you've decided to evacuate, the government needs to make its citizens aware, hey, so that we can spot check everybody. Just mark your door if you've gone, if you've decided to evacuate.
Right, and also too, getting back to the evacuation thing, a lot of times these people don't want to leave because they don't see a clear way to get out.
True.
And until somebody comes and tells them or tries to evacuate them, they might be resistance. Like, well, how are you going to get me out of here? There's no way I can leave.
Or in our case, where are we going to go?
Right.
You know,
right.
I mean, when my mom tried to evacuate us in Rita, and we got all the way to like 30 minutes north of here before we were almost out of gas. And so we turned around and came home. My mom was
and
like...
most of the stations were probably out of gas by that point.
Oh, yeah. And my mom was just like...
open.
My mom was just like, screw it. We'll just, we'll just endure. We just turned around and went back home. And so... where was I going with this? If we had actually gotten out, my mom would have just driven all the way to Kansas because that's where our closest family.
Yeah, like if the military came to your door and said, "Hey, you've got to get out now because of the hurricane." Well, some of these people don't have any place else to go.
Right, and that's the thing. It's like shelters get filled so quickly.
They get filled up quick too, and it's like, well, I there's no place for me to go, and at that point, the military and the police have to say, "Hey, we know we have a place for you to go to," because it's stupid for them to come and tell you to get out only with the assumption that you have a place to go. They need to have something in place. So if they're coming to you, you might have a place to go. But if you don't,
are you thinking like that the military needs to assign a camp basically to you?
Well, sure. I mean, look at the military bases after Katrina. A lot of those people that were lost their homes and stuff, they went to military installations and stayed there. Yeah. That happened here in Texas. They brought people up to the military bases here in Texas to stay.
Yeah, the forts up in... Yeah.
So the military in that situation stepped up because they probably more than likely helped these people get out. But then they also had a thing in place, even though it wasn't like down the street, it was in another state. But we've got a place for you to go to, and we're going to get you there.
Yeah, well, I mean, Katrina, Houston opened up quite a few shelters for Katrina victims, and so a lot of people
helping out people all over.
I mean,
because it's the right thing to do.
There was quite a few animal shelters that opened up for here to take care of the animals that were displaced. Yeah, and bunch of our neighbors where I used to live, they adopted a couple dogs that,
that's cool.
And so, I mean, I think people will figure out a way to, endure.
Well, I think you hit on it, and we talked about this in another podcast. People will help each other. You don't have to wait for the military necessarily to step it up. Some people need the military, but some people don't.
Chicago needs the military.
Boy, do they. But, hey, that's another subject.
Yeah.
And the sad thing is, I used to live in Chicago.
Yeah, I got buddies in Chicago, and they say it's pretty bad, but...
Well, I didn't live in the South Side where a lot of this crime is happening.
Right.
I lived in the suburbs. I have friends that live in the suburbs around there, and they're telling me it's really bad.
Yeah, that radio host reads the radio host in Houston reads that Chicago death report every weekend.
Oh, really? I haven't
on
heard
Mondays.
That.
Yeah, if you listen to what's his name?
I listen to public radio, so I.
Yeah, it's on KRTH 740. So I believe it's 740.
I do listen to the Astros game.
Yeah, that's on 790. But anyway, 740. He reads every Monday. Every Monday morning, he reads the Chicago Death Report shows.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Even down here.
Yeah. He reads it just because he thinks it's ridiculous that police aren't.
Does he name the victims as well?
No, I don't think he does. He just talks about how many have died and how they died.
It's insane.
It's just it's ridiculous.
To give you an example. New York City is a lot bigger than Chicago.
Houston's a lot bigger than Chicago.
Right. But from my perspective, this city has a lot of crime.
It does.
Yeah. But not the shootings so much, but they do have a lot of crime.
Oh, yeah. Well, Houston's got a lot of other problems.
But I will say this. When I lived in Denver, they had crime, but it wasn't anywhere near this. When I lived near Philadelphia, they were out of control in Philadelphia. There was always crime. But the one city that I've been to that I felt safe no matter where I've been is New York City. And you would think that it would be really bad there, but I think New York City gets a bad rap because I've been there 4 times, and the people are pretty outgoing that live there, and they're pretty helpful if you need something. And and I've been all over the city, and I've never felt unsafe.
The few times that I visited New York, I did find the people, particularly on the subway system, to be very helpful, because the subway system for me is just confusing.
Well, sure it is.
You know,
I'm not an expert on it
dad,
myself.
It was so funny. I was with my dad when we went there, and he's like, "Oh, I don't know how to get over there." And this guy behind us is like, because we're staring at the map. You know, we're just staring at the map.
You can do that all day.
and the guy behind us goes, "Oh, where are you trying to go?" And my dad's like, "Oh, we're trying to go over." And I can't remember where we were trying to go. I think we were trying to go see the 9/11 memorial. And he goes, "Yeah, don't go the way you're thinking. Go take the F train down over there." And it got us there fast. You know,
and I think a lot of that happened under Giuliani. He got the ball rolling on some of that. And Bloomberg, as liberal as he is, kept it up. But the mayor they got now, I don't know. De Blasio?
Yeah, De Blasio.
I'm not expecting anything.
Yeah,
from
De Blasio, I've heard is just pretty bad.
Well, he's the police force hates him.
Yeah.
He doesn't back the cops up, and that's a bad thing.
That is a bad thing.
Matter of fact, I don't know if you ever watched Blue Bloods, but the last episode was pretty much like that, where the cops turned on the mayor.
Jeez.
But it's the same thing with the troops. There's another thing, using the military at home. If you send the troops in like Trump wants to do with Chicago, you would think that if I was the mayor of Chicago, I would take offense to that and take care of it myself. Ask the governor of Illinois for troops if you need to, but step up the police presence, do whatever you have to do. But it's like, I'd be insulted if I had to have the government come in and police my city.
Yeah, I think he is insulted, but I think it's a point of pride. You know, I think that's where the hubris of humanity comes in, is that it's not really a problem. You know, like he
shouldn't even have been on the ticket to begin with. They made a special exception for him to run because he was a congressman from there, and he was Obama's chief of staff.
Yeah, I don't know.
I'm not. I mean, the military presence there, it definitely needs to happen. If he doesn't like it, he's just going to have to suck it up. And the first part would be to tell the governor, which I think they've already had the election and he lost, or he's going to lose because his poll numbers are down in Illinois. That state's messed up. I can say that because I'm from there. But the governor, Trump needs to talk to the governor, Republican or Democrat, and say, look, if you're not going to order the troops up there, I will.
Agreed. I don't think it's limited to just Trump. I think Pence or whoever's in power needs to do it. You know,
there's a good example of the military. If they don't go in there, I think I'd be at a point where if I lived there, it's like I've had enough, and I'm going to do whatever I have to do to stop it. And that's how revolutions get started.
Yeah, I think in general, I think it goes back similar. I have a similar stance. I think 60-40, maybe 65-35, the use of the military being used for good versus evil in the United States within our borders. Right. I definitely think that the Civil War was a big need. There was a big need for that use in the Civil War. I know that civil wars are nasty everywhere, and I don't think that brother should fight against brother. But sometimes it has to be done for the nation to progress.
Right.
And that's what happened. That's what happened with our Civil War. Is that it had to be done.
And I had two great uncles that fought in that war on both sides.
Yeah, and we had my grandfather has My grandfather has relatives that fought on both sides.
Yeah, see, it really pitted us against each other.
It really did. It's just a nasty. This is a nasty war.
Well, you know, it was one of those things that at the time it needed to happen, and the president did what he had to do to get it done. And our current president, hopefully, it won't get to that point, but I think the president's doing the right thing with how he's using the military. But my summation is, I don't understand the other side rioting and everything after the election when they're the ones that said that he should accept the results, and yet these people are still out on the streets. That would be a good example of having the military come in and say, look, we're not going to shoot you or anything, but we need to make this a respectful protest if you want to do it, because we are a country that is allowed to protest. That is our right. But when it starts getting out of hand and you start harassing people, then I think a military presence needs to be present.
But then you don't get videos like that girl screaming no at the sky.
No, because the media is selective on what they're going to show you.
If you had the military intervene at the inauguration of Trump, and you would get if you had the military.
Well, if the military was at Trump's inauguration, the number might be closer to what he said it was there.
But I think forcing people to accept the results is a little bit extreme, particularly when you talk about ideas, because that's a separation of ideas versus calls to violence or calls to action. Because if freedom of speech doesn't protect calls to action, it only protects ideas.
Yeah, but I'm saying a military presence, I think would be good, but I'm not saying they have to start knocking heads or anything.
No, I don't think they should start knocking heads. But
I don't make it more orderly.
Well, part of the problem
is it's not orderly.
I have a problem with Black Lives Matter and all this other stuff. Doing
all
things without
that Black Lives thing is.
But it's not about okay. I have a problem with it. I have a problem with organizations that go out and do protests in the middle of the road without permits. You know what I mean? Because you don't get people rallied to your cause by causing disturbances in communities.
Here's another thing with the military. Okay. I heard an interview one time after one of these police shootings. These people are out rioting, they're looting stores, and this woman, they interviewed her and said she had a TV in her hand, and she goes, "I'll do whatever I have to get my message out," and then that means going into the store and stealing a TV. I mean, how is that getting your message out? That just makes you look stupid.
It does. But
I mean, if it was a fat person that got killed, will you go get a big screen? This is
no. If a fat person gets killed, what is that thing they serve at the road? I'm gonna go get my funnel cake. Damn it! Fat person gets killed. I'm gonna go get my funnel cake. Damn it!
No, but their logic is way out of left field.
Right. It does it
and for some reason I think that's justified.
But it astounds me that people think that you stealing from a business is the same thing as defying government.
And then they get mad when the National Guard and the military gets there. They got a reason to be there, and I'm glad they're there.
Yeah. I'm surprised how fast time went with this episode. I'm very, like I told you before, I was very underprepared for this particular episode.
I told you you'd have plenty to talk about.
Oh yeah, I have plenty to talk about. We still have more to talk about, but I was very curious as to the direction of the conversation that you wanted to go. But no, it's good. I'm very happy with the conversation.
Yeah, me too. And we find out next week what your mom's going to talk about.
Yeah, Mama Lotus. Yeah. Mama Lotus on the show next time, hopefully.
Yeah.
So
that'll be a remote. That'll be a remote in another city.
Yeah, another city. Yep. So for sure, we'll have to find out. We'll have to find out exactly what Mama Lotus wants to talk about. But I think that I tried to talk to Papa Lotus about joining the show. He doesn't want to.
Not so much.
He said if he's not a big in front of the camera or recorded type guy.
He's probably the guy that takes the pictures and records. That's me usually. Actually.
Yeah, well, that's me too. Like, I mean, that's
you look at all the events I go to. I'm not in any of the pictures.
I had my dad. My dad asked me why I do the podcast, and I said I don't. He says I do the podcast because I like talking about things and being intellectually stimulated. I said, but another reason I do it is because I want to learn audio editing a little bit better. And I said I'm a behind the scenes guy. That's what I do. That's my job. That's my career.
People ask me about different stuff with all the stuff you're doing.
Yeah.
I said, I'm just a participant.
Yeah.
I go, whatever is going on, you need to talk to him.
Yeah. He thought it was really interesting the way we started the podcast and why we started the podcast, but he has no interest in being on the show.
Yeah,
but
he does listen.
He does listen, and but I did ask him what topic he would want to talk about, and he goes, "Oh, we'll talk about Formula One." So I think if you ever have to miss an episode,
that'd be the one.
That'd be the one. So it would be interesting.
I remember Formula for my kids, but that's about
Formula for your kids. No, Formula One. Oh man, dude, we watched Bahrain, the Bahrain Grand Prix.
Yeah.
Over the weekend, and oh man, there was a I don't know how much you know about races or anything like that, but you know the pit crews and stuff like that. Yeah. Change tires and add gas and stuff. Well, Ferrari pit crew member got run over. And it was bad. It was so bad. Yeah. What happened was that because they have three in Ferrari races, even in NASCAR and other races, they have three pit crew members per wheel to change the tires. Well, the guy that operates the wrench couldn't get the first tire off. He couldn't get the wrench. He couldn't get the nut off. So he's trying to pull the nut off, and he's spending too much time pulling the nut off. Well, the pit captain called it green. And he assumed that the tire had been changed. The tire hadn't been changed. And so the guy holding the fresh tire got run over. And it was bad. Wow. He broke both his legs.
But he did survive.
He survived. And he got out of surgery yesterday morning. But he survived.
My wife's cousins,
they
used to race cars. And they were in a bad accident one time. But they survived.
How fast those cars go, and just any little thing.
I have stock in Ferrari, so I'm glad they move. One day I might have one.
But no, yeah, it was a Ferrari pit crew member. It was bad. Wow. But I hats off to Ferrari for actually being proactive and making sure that the guy's okay. And
well, anymore, it's just a PR nightmare when you don't step it up and do something about it.
Yeah, and I could tell, because I thought that they were going to show a replay of it, and I could tell that the producers, whoever was behind the camera, the technical lead that was behind the cameras, wanted to make sure that there was nothing bad in the footage before they showed the replay.
Yeah,
and because the only replay that they showed was this overhead looked like a helicopter shot of the change, and I mean just that looked bad.
It's amazing how much you can get people behind you if you just own it up front instead of trying to give all these excuses.
Yeah, I mean if you
start blaming everybody else for what happened, or you're real evasive on stuff, that's when it just lingers on and you can't move on.
The stewards, as soon as they told Raikkonen to stop, who was the driver, because they have Sebastian Vettel, who ended up winning the race. That's the other Ferrari driver, and then they have because manufacturers are allowed to submit teams of two, and so Ferrari has Sebastian Vettel, who's like up there with Lewis Hamilton. Hamilton's like the best driver in the world right now, and then you've got Sebastian Vettel and then Kimi Räikkönen that both represent Ferrari, and they told Räikkönen to stop, and they pulled him out of the race because it's like, you can't just run over your teammate like that, and keep going, and so I'm glad that they lived it. It came across as a very team. I don't think Raikkonen would have gone anyway, because it's like is his teammate. He's
part of the pit crew. Watching everybody what they were doing.
No, well, but I mean, there's 12 guys. Yeah, I mean, he did what he was supposed to. Yeah. Nobody blamed Raikkonen. He did what he was supposed to.
Right.
And so I think that the FIA, the people in charge, they're looking at all the footage and what happened and stuff. So, but yeah, that was.
It's kind of like the NTSB
but anyway,
for auto racing.
Yeah, they're the FIA. They call them the stewards. They're the board that kind of governs the rules of Formula One and Formula racing.
We all need that.
But no, that's just a branching off a topic I normally talk about with Papa Lotus. But
well, this will be an intro for when you guys do it.
Yeah, if we ever. I think it's going to take a lot of convincing to have my dad on the podcast. But yeah, this has been episode number 4.
Number 4.
This is number 4. It's been episode number 4 of the Socratic Neighbors podcast. We're at about an hour 15 right now, which it won't be when you actually listen to it. It'll probably be an hour 12, hour 10.
And someday we'll probably have our 25th and 50th.
Yeah, someday.
And then we'll be selling the box set.
We're running out of.
When we have the box set, people will be excited.
People will be excited. We'll have 50 followers then, not just 3. But Yeah, this. If you guys have any corrections or anything you'd like us to talk about, reach out to us at SocraticNeighbors@gmail.com. Follow us on Twitter at Socratic Podcast. This is Lotus and my co-host.
Quick Carl.
We're very happy that you've been listening to us through these 4 episodes, and we hope that you continue to keep listening to us. If you got any topics or any questions or corrections for us, or if you disagree with us, these last 2 episodes I think have been kind of more controversial than our first 2 episodes. The first episode I think we did really well. It was a good opener, and the second episode was good, but I think our third episode was one of our spots.
It's still fun if you don't have some controversy.
Right, it's true. But I'm very happy with the podcast so far. So,
yeah, definitely.
Anyway, you guys listening, have a great week, and hopefully we'll be able to get Mama Lotus on the show next time. So anything else you'd like to close us out with?
Arrivederci, Buenos Aires, Auf Wiedersehen.
Anything to our listener Tyler?
Yeah, I'll be seeing him soon.
Yeah.
and that's a good thing.
Yeah, it's a good thing. Yeah. So thank you for listening and have a great week.